You are now listening to the Creative Insomniac. Hey, welcome back to a new segment of the Creative Insomniac. I am your host, Selena LeBron, and this segment is called Sleep Talk, where we discuss the latest episode with you. And you guys asked me some questions, and so then you had some thoughts and some theories, etc., via Twitter and Instagram. And some of you sent me a few Anchor voice messages. Thank you for that. And we're going to discuss here live in this recording your questions. All right, so let's jump into it. Our first question is from Kiki.
Hi, Selena. Welcome to the podcasting world. I've enjoyed the episodes that you put up so far. And I just had a question about your personal experience with insomnia and whether or not you have tried anything to help you get better sleep at night. I don't suffer from insomnia, but I know a few people who do. And so they're always trying to figure out something new to help them get a few extra hours in. And there are all these products out there, like this weighted blanket, ZQuil, the CBD, even just, chamomile tea or melatonin, all these natural remedies that are being pushed on people. So I'm just wondering if you've tried any, and if you have, how would you rank them, and what was your experience with them like?
That is a great question. So my experience with insomnia is that of a love-hate situation. I don't really love it. But what I mean by that is having insomnia has come in handy, I should say. When I needed to get something done, like if I had a project that I was working on and I had a limited amount of time to do it, those situations would be ideal in a sense. And I say that I say ideal very lightly. Because I would be wide awake, fully engaged in whatever I was working on. For example, I got my bachelor's and my master's degree at Full Sail University online. Because I was getting my education through an online platform, my schedule needed to be extremely flexible because of all the other things I had going on in my life. Like I was working a full-time job. I was a single mother at the time. I was also the lead singer in a metal band. We'll get into that later. And we were recording our LP. I wanted to get my education, but it needed to be in a way that wouldn't disrupt what I already had going on in my life. And my sleep schedule wouldn't allow me to physically be in school and actually take in information effectively. So I needed to go to school online. It just worked out better for me that way. So here's where the hate part in the relationship comes into play, because while I can say in the same token that insomnia helped me in some fashion push through my schooling and push through recording an album, working a full-time job, and pulling double shifts, it also affected my work as well. Some days I was too exhausted from being up for a few hours, and I would miss deadlines on assignments. I would sleep through appointment times when I was supposed to be at a go-to training session because my body would just crash. And it would affect not the quality of my work, but late submissions, handing your work in late can take a toll on your overall reliability. And so I started to look into lack of sleep solutions, and my significant other mentioned melatonin. At the time, I was totally against taking any kind of pills or medications that would put me in any kind of a deep sleep because of my kids. I needed to make sure that if something happened in the middle of the night and, they were trying to wake me up, that I could wake up. So I started off safe, and instead I tried the Sleepy Time tea. And I love it. I am a huge tea lover. I am a tea person. But it's not the most effective in my case. If I had to rank the tea, I would say it helped me sleep about 40% of the time. The way I make my tea, I don't just use water as the base. I like to put like soy milk or cream into the tea. I would drink this before bed, and honestly, it would put me to sleep, but I wake up about 3 hours later and I wouldn't even feel rested, honestly. I eventually caved and I tried melatonin, and I'd have to say, out of all the other contenders, melatonin is in first place as far as how fast it works, the way I feel once I wake up. I heard that you have to up the dosage after a while because your body begins to become used to it. So I actually don't use it often. I have also tried different combinations of things to see if a specific combo would work. For example, I learned that getting a good workout in daily can help your body relax. So I tried that coupled with some Sleepy Time tea and a hot shower to loosen my muscles. That worked for a little while until it didn't. I tried meditation using the Calm app. This is not sponsored by the Calm app, by the way. With some soothing music before bed. That doesn't work anymore. I've tried essential oils with a diffuser to no avail. I have never tried ZzzQuil. I have been looking into weighted blankets, and I'm curious as to how they would actually affect someone's, like if someone has breathing issues and back problems like I do. Would the weight from the blanket cause any serious discomfort? So if any of you have tried any of this, please hit me up on social media. Let me know. I have not tried CBD. I would love to try it. If any companies out there that are listening that are willing to send me a sample product to try to review, by all means, you can email me at thecreativeinsomniacbrand@gmail.com. But yeah, if anyone has any experience with any of these products, sound off in the comments. Let me know on Instagram at thecreativeinsomniac_podcast, or you can hit me up on Twitter at creative, that's CRE, the number 8, IVEINSOMNIAC, and let me know. That was a great question. All right, so we're going to go on to our next question. So the next question is from our listener, Victor.
Hi, Selena. I was wondering, to what point is insomnia considered helpful for creativity and when it becomes harmful to a person's life?
Awesome question. Thank you. Because this lets me touch base a little more on something I was referring to in the first 2 episodes. So let's talk about the creative side of this first. Speaking from personal experience, I have spent many nights back in the day wide awake working on vocal tracks and recording vocals for my band at the time. This was going to be our first album. So we were in the studio all hours of the night until the freaking sun came up. I have spent many nights working on projects for school that needed to get done, but I had put off during the week because I was pulling double shifts at my job at the time because I needed the hours. So I would be pulling double shifts, and I would completely forget about the project until the last minute. I am also a graphic designer and a photographer. And before coronavirus hit, I was doing photo shoots here and there, and I would spend a lot of time editing the fine details in photos. Hell, even now, editing this podcast, even, editing the episodes for this podcast, it keeps me up. So for me, as a content creator and just being a creative person in general, I get excited about the work I'm doing, and it becomes extremely hard for me to shut my brain and my creativity off. Sometimes I will get so consumed by a project that it will literally keep me up all night. I am obviously not the only person that has ever experienced this. Insomnia, lack of sleep, and wakefulness have inspired creators and entrepreneurs to produce all of the products I spoke about earlier. Whether they suffered from wakefulness themselves or knew people who suffered from this and it inspired them to create something that might help other people out there struggling to combat their sleep troubles. You have artists all over the world staying up all night to finish an album or edit a movie, design a game or a website, even YouTube content creators. And I know there's this misconception that YouTube creators are not actually working hard. Let me tell you firsthand experience. Building this podcast, the website, the social media accounts, and building a YouTube page, it's a lot of work for one person. Editing a video alone is a lot of work. There is a lot of creativity that goes into just concepts for the content that is produced by these creators. And I commend them because it takes a lot of focus and a lot of dedication, especially if you have a family, to get this stuff done. So now, while we have spoken about how insomnia can sometimes help, and I say that very loosely because, again, I want to also specify that I am not in any way, shape, or form saying that lack of sleep and not going to sleep or having insomnia is this amazing tool for creativity. No, it is not. It is something that I suffer from, but have learned to try to use to my advantage. So in that same notion, like I was saying, you have this moment where you see that, okay, look, I'm suffering with getting some sleep. I can't get any sleep. I'm fully awake. I have my creative juices that are flowing. Something's keeping me up. I want to get this done. And you just say, you know what, since I can't fall asleep, I'm just going to power through this project. And it helps. Lightly, it helps. But on the flip side of that, insomnia, lack of sleep or wakefulness, does in fact pose a serious danger to health when this becomes a prolonged and a recurring situation. As I discussed in previous episodes 1 and 2, lack of sleep does have a significant effect on your brain. It can impair your ability to function properly. You become emotionally unstable. You make rash decisions. It's as if you're drunk, which in fact is what the CDC compares sleep deprivation with, being under the influence. So according to the CDC, being awake for a full 24 hours straight is when your body will start to feel the full effects of sleep deprivation. The CDC states that staying awake for at least 24 hours is comparable to having a blood alcohol content of 0.10%. In the US, it is illegal to drive with a blood alcohol level of 0.08% or above. Driving during lack of sleep can be a serious danger to yours and everyone else on the road's health. operating heavy machinery, or cooking. All of this can lead to accidents, and you don't want that to happen. So I wholeheartedly encourage everyone to take as many safety precautions as you can to ensure your safety and those around you. You could ask someone to drive with you, or you can map out your drive and place in points to make pit stops. So, you can pull over at a rest stop and get some sleep here. I believe Waze has an option for that. Not sponsored, by the way. This is not sponsored. But I do believe Waze has that built into the platform where you can put stops in along the way. So that's a good tool and something that everyone should utilize if you have to travel and if you have not gotten enough sleep. Honestly, you shouldn't be driving anyway if you have not gotten enough sleep. I cannot stress this enough. But yeah, I hope that answered your question, Victor. All right. Okay, so I have an email here from Anonymous, and it says, "Hey Selena, I just listened to the first episode of your podcast. Congrats on your new journey, and thank you for sharing. I actually just wanted to share a bit of my own theories on the topic of creativity, mental health, and insomnia. With being human and living in a society, there are these social norms. From the time we're born, we're trained and conditioned to think and behave a certain way. For the most part, people hold fast to these behaviors and they can't see any other way, and they don't question it. It's just the way it is. Earn money, buy shit, take care of your family, and this is what a family is. Feel this way about it, etc. Then there are those who can't conform, no matter how hard they try. And then there are those who see the strings of it all. Among these two groups, you find not all, but many of your creative types. People who don't fit in society for one reason or another and have developed a skill of expression. Now, because these people were never normal to begin with, they're more susceptible to developing or worsening a mental illness. The art, which is inspired by the vision of and for the world, being fueled by these abnormal thoughts and expressions, continues to be a catalyst and pushes a person closer to his or her limits. All those unsettling emotions that come with feelings of isolation, the fear, the anxiety, the depression, the stress, can contribute to one's insomnia, can also be one's artistic drive. Now, let's couple all of that with the consumption and distribution of art. Artists are still human and still strive for that success and recognition of their craft. So with all of the deadlines, whether real or imaginary, there's always that internal push to make it to the next level. However, the sad truth is that unless you can make it to a certain level in your craft, or have a high celebrity status, or have that lucky chance encounter, or some combination of all these things plus some, you can't make enough money from your work. So unless you're rich or have a sponsor, an artist has to get a day job like everyone else, or become that romanticized starving artist. And so life happens in the day, creativity happens at night, a constant cycle of sleep deprivation. And so that's my theory, completely unbacked by scientific evidence or research. Thanks for letting my mind wander, Anonymous. So I agree with a lot of the points that you made here in your email. So one of the things that I want to state is I agree that a lot of artists, you want to be you want to be recognized for your craft. You want to get that recognition for your artwork. You want to have people say, "Oh, I know that painting, it's such and such," or "I know that sculpture, it's by such and such. I know who took that photograph. That's such and such photograph. That's such and such work." Yes, of course. All artists, we strive for that. We want that. But honestly, I'm doing it to combat a lot of the stuff that's floating around in my head. So when you were talking about these feelings and emotions, the feelings of isolation, the anxiety, the depression, the stress, that's why I do it. It's a way for me to unclog and clean out the space in my head, if that makes sense to anyone out there. When I paint, like, I have a ton of paintings that I have never showed anyone. I did share a few on Instagram maybe 2 years ago. That was it. I have not shared any of my artwork in regards to my painting since then. Honestly, for me, it's more of a catharsis. It's very therapeutic for me. I like to paint and just get whatever's in my mind at the time out. Get it on a canvas, slap some color onto it, and just get it out. This is just me speaking personally. If people see that and they feel it's worth something, and if I slap a price tag on it and people want to buy it, that's awesome, that's great, but that's not why I'm doing it. Another point that you made, you said, now because these people were never normal to begin with, they're more susceptible to developing or worsening a mental illness. The art, which is inspired by the vision of and for the world being fueled by those abnormal thoughts and expressions, continues to be a catalyst and pushes a person closer to his or her limits. So I feel like the great thing, at least now, the awesome thing about this normal you speak of is that it doesn't even exist anymore. And you did, people can't see this because I'm reading an email, but you did put the word normal in quotation marks. So I believe that you do understand what I'm saying by this. So this normal, and I put quotes up in the air right now. This normal that we speak of, it doesn't exist anymore. This is 2020. This year alone has shown us that the normal that we were so, I don't even know if I want to say that we were so wrapped up in as like a false sense of security ever existed. Like, it never existed. None of, like, all of the actuality, the truth is coming out now. Like, we are at a great turning point and an awakening, and 2020 is just, it's only halfway through the year, and people are coming alive and speaking up and speaking out and being heard. So I don't necessarily think that this normal that we've referred to in the past is going to exist anymore, especially after this year. And there's been so many, like, mental illness has become at the top of the talking points, even in political debates now, which wasn't a thing back then. It wasn't a thing. So now these talking points, these issues, these concerns, it's becoming more and more at the forefront of discussions, and things are changing. People are starting to realize that there is more funding that is needed for helping others with mental illnesses. And this what you said, and I want to quote you, being fueled by these abnormal thoughts and expressions. These abnormal thoughts and expressions are no longer abnormal. They're what was behind the facade that we as a society was living in. If that makes sense. I know I'm kind of rambling, but I hope you understand what I'm saying. So I definitely, you hit a lot of great points with this email, and I'm just excited to see where everything goes from here on out. Like, this year has not, it has not let up. Each month, like, I have a calendar on my wall, and I kid you not, each month has has had a theme. Each month has it's had a theme. And every month I'm like, oh man, what we're going to be in August next week, and I'm sitting here like, what the heck is going to happen in August? Because these last few months it's been something out of a graphic novel, So yeah, I appreciate everything you said in this email, and I think your theory, even without having scientific research, I mean, honestly, you said a lot of what I said in the first 2 episodes. I think you even put it a little more eloquently than I did. But yeah, you know, it's your theory. I'd say it's spot on. You know, the only thing I would say to the only thing I would disagree on is just I don't think the starving artist is romanticized anymore. I think a lot more people are starting to realize that you know, being an artist and starving isn't fun. And if you get to the point where you're just doing your craft to you know, you're doing it just to make money, then you're not having fun anymore. It doesn't become it starts to lose its allure. You know, you start to lose your passion in it, and you're just not having fun anymore. If you're doing it for all the wrong reasons, you know, if you're not doing it, you got to Maria Kondo it. You know, this doesn't bring me joy. It has to go. But yeah, thank you for your email and for this discussion. So we're gonna take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back. We here at the Creative Insomniac, which is a black and biracial owned brand and business, would also like to support other black and multicultural businesses. With that being said, this portion of the episode is sponsored by Limitlistics. Limitlistics is the study of knowing no limits in your life. It is an everyday mantra. I see no limits, I speak no limits, and I know no limits. It's not just a brand, it's a lifestyle. Head over to limitlistics.com where you can purchase merchandise such as shirts, tote bags, glassware, and mugs. They also do custom orders. If you have a vision, they can make it a reality. So again, head over to www.limitlistics.com. Again, the website is www.limitlistics.com. All right, welcome back. All right, so we have another question. So our next question is from Andrea.
I was wondering how you go about your creative process and how you decided to get into, I guess, broadcasting and graphic design and photography and things like that. I'm an artist myself, so I would like to know how you decided to start this path and, if you could share a little bit more of your insights on what you've learned, especially towards graphic design and photography, that would be really, really cool. Thanks.
Ooh. Okay, that is a good question. All right, my creative process. What is my creative process? So, my creative process consists of blasting really good music. I listen to a lot of Slipknot. I like heavy metal. I listen to a lot of Slipknot, a lot of Korn, a lot of In This Moment. I like heavy rock. I like the old school Linkin Park. I like R&B, the old stuff. So yeah, it consists of really good music, food, and a good place to vibe. I cannot stress the last one enough. Having a little corner of my own to just vibe in takes things to a whole new level. Just being able to like zone out and let my mind wander without interruption is a game changer. And I know not everyone has the ability to do that. Not everyone has the ability to section off a corner for their own use, and I get it. So in that case, what I would suggest in a non-COVID world, going to I would suggest going to a coffee shop or a park or maybe the library. Honestly, you could go to a park now because it's summertime, and if there's nobody around, you don't have to worry about social distancing or anything like that. But yeah, you go to like a park or something, you put some headphones on, and you just create, whether you're drawing or painting or working on some songs, writing a book, writing a blog post, creating a YouTube video, whatever it is. I feel like having a good space and just a space in general to help you concentrate on whatever it is you're working on is just it's so needed. I also like doing research on things before I begin a project, depending on what it is. If it's a design project and I'm creating a logo or a mock-up for a website, I like to check out what's new on YouTube. YouTube has been an enormous help in regards to finding tips and tricks on what others have learned and where, what they were willing to share. Especially because the programs I use to design are constantly evolving and updating, adding new features. For example, I was on LinkedIn the other day and Adobe Creative Cloud popped up, and they were talking about how it's this new plugin that they have for InDesign where you could basically design working websites, and I can't get into the whole specifics of it, but it's stuff like that that you need to stay on top of. It's these programs are constantly changing and adding bells and whistles and things like that, so you really need to stay on top of all of the new added features, because they're usually put there because people requested it, and they are taking the time to tweak the programs to do all these amazing things, that can sometimes be a little overwhelming to keep up with. So going to YouTube and watching tutorial videos, that's my guilty pleasure. So that's part of my creative process. I also appreciate those that are willing to create these tutorials and they're willing to share, because again, like I said, these features are constantly evolving and changing, and they're adding new things all the time. So you want to try and stay ahead of the curve. So you also wanted to know, how did I get into design and broadcasting? Well, I went to an art and design high school. I'm not going to say which one for privacy reasons, obviously. I was always a very imaginative and creative child. I actually have some of my old report cards from when I was in kindergarten, and my teachers would leave notes for my parents at the end of each marking period saying, she's very creative, she's very smart, she's very good at storytelling and expression. And honestly, it's in my blood, truly. I kid you not. My sister did a family tree, like one of those. She did the ancestry kits. And it turns out my dad is a distant relative of Salvador Dali. So I know that we touched base on him a little bit in episode 1, and I wanted to mention it, but I thought it would take away from the episode, so I didn't put it in it. But yeah, so creativity and art, it runs deep in my blood. As far as broadcasting is concerned, I started listening to podcasts around 2014, 2015. And like I've mentioned before, I have quite the experience with editing audio from my days as a singer. Being in the studio made me extremely curious as to how music and audio in general is edited. When I was in high school, a few of my friends who rapped had home studios, and they were making their songs in like these little homemade booths and stuff. And so I picked their brains, and I watched how they mixed their songs. And this was back when MySpace was a thing. MySpace. Do y'all remember MySpace? Oh my God. Tom from MySpace is on Facebook. I'm sorry. I just had to throw that out there. But yeah, MySpace was a thing. And, this was how people used that. They used that platform to share their music. Like, oh, go listen to my song. I just put it up on MySpace. Go check it out, whatever. So yeah, Facebook didn't exist. So I started messing around with different programs like Fruity Loops. If y'all remember that, let me know in the comments. I used Fruity Loops to make beats. At least I tried to make beats, and WavePad to record the audio and put everything together. And I eventually got better, and I started using like Ableton Live and a few other programs. And I actually mixed a few people's songs. I do wish back then I could have afforded a better mic, because I would share those songs, but the sound, the mic quality is not. It's not something I would share. Yeah, I could continue to dive deeper into that, but I'll save that for another episode. So, what I have learned, insights for graphic design and photography. In terms for insights, all I can really tell you is to just get out there and do it. Grab your camera and start clicking away. I would just also say, don't just stand there like straightforward and point and shoot, and like don't just point and shoot and take a picture from the same angle. Move around, get low, get high, use different props, different objects, different colors, different shading, mess with the natural light, use fluorescent lights, like really, really dive in and really explore your camera and all the different ways that you can play with angles, and just try different methods and settings. Experiment with your camera and all the settings that it comes with. Explore your surroundings. And what I like to say is, think outside of the lens. Copyright. Copyright. That's mine. Don't take it. Think outside of the lens. Tutorials are your friend. I cannot stress this enough. Tutorials are your friends. The same goes for graphic design. There's a basic structure that you have to adhere to. Don't be afraid to push the boundaries. Research is very important as well, and stay on top of what's happening. Follow the trends, but don't follow the trends. I don't know if that makes sense, but like follow the trends and see what's happening, but don't like copy it. Put your own stank on it. put some stank on it. If y'all remember that saying, I'm from the Bronx, I'm sorry, but that's what you put some stank on it, put some flavor on it. That's the best advice that I can give you. So Andrea, I hope this helps. Okay, so we have a few more questions.
Hey, Miss Creative Insomniac, I have a question for you. But first, what a great topic. I often get a lot of lucid dreams, and it's great to put a name to it. Question: what are your opinions about day lucid dreams? Oftentimes, just like a commercial break, I go into these like short episodes of daydreams, and I'm able to control them sometimes. However, after those episodes, I find myself in like deja vu moments, like not exactly the same day, but later on in life. Am I the only one like this? I mean, sometimes I be thinking I'm the next Miss Cleo. I mean, am I the next Miss Cleo, or like could I be just manifesting things into existence? What are your opinions about this?
Hi, that is very interesting. So I think I might be a little confused about the question. So are you saying that you're having lucid dreams during the day, like while you're awake. So kind of like a lucid daydream. If that's what you're saying, or you're saying that your deja vu is so strong it almost feels like a dream, kind of like a lucid dream. Because if you're talking about deja vu, then yes, I've experienced that, where it's so like so vivid and so strong, and like I realize that I'm having deja vu, and like everything goes into slow motion. And sometimes like I'll try to predict what's about to happen next. If that's what you mean when you're referencing Miss Cleo, then yes, I actually have experienced that, and that's an interesting way to put it. So are you saying like you can't, like, you're having daydreams and they're just like so out of control that you just like, oh snap, and like what's happening right now? And then you realize like, oh, I'm daydreaming, let me stop. Like I've had moments where I have had like heavy daydreams, where I'm just thinking about something, and like I know we've all all been through it, where we've like daydreamed about ourselves going up to that person that we dislike or whatever and saying how we feel, or having like a daydream about going to your crush and being like, well, you want all of this, don't you? Or like, I know I am not the only one that has ever had like the crazy daydream where you like dancing and you hitting all the right moves, like and you killing it on the dance floor, but in real life you probably just trip over your feet and like bust your face open. Like those are the type of daydreams I've had. In terms of daydreaming, if that's what you mean, you on a whole new level, so you might just be the next Miss Cleo. But in terms of like the deja vu, if that, because I might just be not understanding what you're saying, but if you're talking about the deja vu and it being so strong that it feels like a dream, like a lucid dream, then yes, I have had that happen. And like I said, I have tried to predict what was about to happen in the deja vu. Like everything will go in slow motion, and I'm like, I know what you're about to say, or I know what's about to happen. And if I get a bad feeling, I might try to stop it. So if that's what you mean, then yeah, you are not alone. You are definitely not alone. And it's a really good question. I wonder if I could turn that into an entire episode. Stay tuned. All right, we have another question. So this question is in reference to episode 3, and it says, what is the coolest lucid dream you ever had? So the coolest lucid dream that I ever had was, you know how you're dreaming, you kind of just like go from one dream to the next, kind of like you're flipping the pages in the book. You're going from one dream to the next, and then it's usually that last dream that you have, that kind of last, that when you wake up, that's the one you usually remember. So this dream that I was having, I guess I was flipping through the pages of Dream World, and I ended up on this planet. I knew it wasn't Earth because the sky was purple. The soil was the same, but the sky was purple. I was on some kind of like hiking adventure with another group of people. The people that I was with, I knew them, but they did not look familiar to me. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, I knew who they were, but for the life of me, like their faces did not look familiar, but their faces did look familiar. It's so hard to explain. But we were in the middle of this planet, and they had like a weird hue to their complexion. And I just remember being like, where are we? What are we doing? And they were talking to me, but I couldn't understand what they were saying. And I was just like, I don't understand what they're saying. I don't understand what you're saying. Where are we? What are we doing here? And I distinctly remember like just walking off. like just walking off. Like I'm on some random planet. I have no idea where I am. And I'm just like, all right, I'm out. And I just start walking off and I'm just looking around like, what is happening? What is this? Like, this is dope. This is cool. The landscape, it kind of looked like if you've ever been to the Grand Canyon or just out in the desert, or if you've seen pictures of the Grand Canyon, that's what it looked like. When I looked out onto the horizon, it was beautiful. It was like, if you could imagine the most beautiful purple sky, that's what it looked like. And I was just like, man, this is cool. And I was just walking around like a sim. Like a sim, or like a game character, like was it Rockstar Games, like that's how I felt. Like I was walking around like like the dude from Red Dead Redemption. I don't know. I know that's for my gamers. I'm making gamer references, and if you don't know, you don't know. I'm sorry. But yeah, it's just like, I was just walking around, just looking at stuff, opening up like boxes, because there was like random boxes everywhere, and they were like rocks, and like just weird stuff was happening. I could not tell you if it was day or night, honestly. I couldn't tell you if it was day or night, but I was awake. Like in the dream, I was awake because I was so curious. Like I wanted to explore this planet. It wasn't like something was like, this stuff was just happening out of my control. Like I went up to rocks and I went up to trees and I was touching stuff. Like I was like, oh, I want to touch this. What is this? Oh, that's cool. That feels weird. And it's so strange because I could actually feel things. Like, I don't know if anyone has ever experienced this as well, when you've had a lucid dream. If you've woken up out of the dream, like you come out of it and you wake up and you remember that you were dreaming, you remember the dream and all of that. And you can also remember how things felt. Like you can remember how things even tasted. I also remember having a dream where I was coughing. I wasn't coughing in the real world, because my significant other would have very well turned over and said, stop coughing, or woke me up. But I was coughing and it felt like I had something in my lungs, like something was hurting me. And in this dream that I'm coughing and I'm like, oh, my ribs hurt, this hurts. And when I woke up, like there was just like this faint ache. Like I could actually feel it actually felt as if I had actually been coughing, but I hadn't been coughing. I'll give you another example. I was having a bad lucid dream. I was having a bad dream and it turned lucid. Like I was having a bit of a nightmare and I was in this dark place and I could feel like something was crouching behind me and it was like menacingly stalking me throughout this tiny little room, I think it was an apartment. And I walked out of the door and for some reason, I don't know why, I went back into the apartment and I could feel like something was standing next to me, and I woke up in the dream. Like I woke up, I was like, nah, I don't like this. And I walked out and I closed the door. But as I was about to close the door, something grabbed my arm. It grabbed my arm and I yanked my arm away from it. And when I woke up, it felt like something had actually grabbed my arm in real life. Like I woke up and I felt like I could still feel fingers on my arm, on my skin. And I was in the bed by myself when I had this dream. So yeah, like I was able to like not be scared in that nightmare, but like I'm curious to know if anybody else has ever experienced having like physical ramifications, like physical manifestations. That's the word I'm looking for. Physical manifestations outside of dreaming, like when you've woken up and you actually feel something touching you, or have felt something that touched you in the dream, you can still feel it on your skin. I hope that answered your question. Okay, so we have one more question, and this question is, what comes first, insomnia that sparks creativity, or creativity that leads to insomnia? Honestly, I would say it's creativity that leads to insomnia. Like I was saying from before, speaking from personal experience, things that inspire me, like projects or, something I'm working on or editing, or if I suddenly have this idea that I need to jot down and I need to, I just sometimes I get like flashes of a design in my head, and I'm like, oh, I need to get this down on paper, or I need to start doing a mock-up of this right now, or I'll forget and I'll start to do it, and then the next thing I know, it's like 9 o'clock in the morning. So for me, speaking personally, creativity that leads to insomnia comes first. In some cases, there are moments where insomnia can spark creativity. Because as I said in episode 2, you could have something that's keeping you up at night, something that's bothering you, it's weighing heavily on your mind. And so you're up already because you're stressed, because you have something that is eating away at you in your subconscious, and you're just awake and you're like, I can't sleep because this is bothering me. And then you're like, you know what? While I'm sitting here and while I'm awake, I'm going to be productive and I'm going to do something. For some people, that could be, I'm going to write a book. Some people could say, you know what? I think I'm going to paint. I'm going to sculpt. Or I'm going to work on some songs. I'm going to write a song. I'm going to write a song about my stress, the stuff that's stressing me out right now. And then you have like a great album. You have like these great albums that are coming out based off of, people being stressed out and they were up all night because they had a horrible fight with their significant other. They had a horrible breakup, or their husband or wife was cheating on them, and now they just wrote like a 10 Grammy winning album. So I guess it depends on the person and the situation. I hope that answered your question. We will be back after this commercial break. All right, welcome back. I hope everyone enjoyed this little sub episode Q&A. I plan on doing quite a bit more of these. I hope that I was able to answer a lot of your questions to the best of my ability. I hope you guys got some clarification on some things. And I generally hope that you guys are enjoying the path that this podcast is going. I appreciate all of the feedback that I've been getting, all of the support. You guys are awesome. You guys are so awesome. And I know someone told me in my last episode, I sounded like I was just so exasperated. I was just like, I'm so thankful for the support. And it's like, oh my God, I have to explain that in the next episode. So I had to take a little bit of a break because there has been some construction going on around me. So if you actually listen closely in the last episode, at the end, you can hear like ambulances and like sirens and stuff going off, and you can hear like banging, and you can hear my neighbors right there having like a barbecue and stuff. And it was driving me nuts. It was driving me so crazy because every time I would hit the record button, something would happen. My kids would start screaming, and you could hear them from all the way up here because I'm all the way in the top floor of the house. My husband is all the way downstairs with the kids. You could hear my neighbors because I'm sitting right next to the window, and you could just hear them just having all kinds of crazy conversations. You could hear music, and then you could hear all the banging and the construction going on. And I was just like, I'm never going to get this episode out. So I had to take a little bit of a break to let them finish the work so I could do this uninterrupted. But yes, that was the reason for the because I had done so many takes, and every time I would stop, it would get quiet, And then the moment I would hit the record button, all hell would break loose. And I was just like, I don't want to do this right now. I can't do this right now. It was messing with my creative process. So I do apologize for that. But anyway, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I appreciate the love and support. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're not subscribed. I am available now on all podcast platforms, wherever you get your podcasts. I am available there. I am creating a specific website for this podcast, so please follow my social medias and keep up with the updates because I will be posting it soon. I am working on the YouTube page. That is going to be up within the next 24 hours because I'm probably going to stay up to create it. Yeah, that's going to happen because I'm excited about it. And I'm just like, oh, I want to, create it and do it now. So yeah, follow me on Twitter again at CRE8 IVEINSOMNIAC. That's on Twitter. And for Instagram, it's at the Creative Insomniac _podcast. Okay, I hope you guys are enjoying your day, your night, whatever time you are listening to this episode. Again, I appreciate your support, and I am your host, Selena LeBron, and this is the Creative Insomniac.